Genealogy Lesson 1, or What James Evelyn Arthur Taught Me. Most rules or paths to solving problems have exceptions. Sometimes we forget that. James Evelyn Arthur's immigration and naturalization records reminded me by presenting one of those exceptions. As an instructor of genealogy classes, I often have students trying to locate immigration records in a sea of similar names, dates, places, name changes, boundary changes, etc. Sometimes it seems impossible to find them. One piece of advice I give is that if they were naturalized in the United States, their arrival data should be included in their naturalization paperwork, and that would lead back to the passenger list. James Arthur filed his declaration of intention to become a naturalized citizen of the United States of America in the Common Pleas Court, Summit County, Ohio, on the 31st of July, 1914. In it, he stated his name was James Arthur, he was aged 27, occupation painter, color was white, hair brown, eyes blue, no other visible distinctive marks. He further stated that he was born in Sydney, Australia on the 28th of August, 1886, and that he then resided at 745 Thayer Street, Akron, Ohio. He goes on to attest that he emigrated from Glasgow, Scotland on the vessel California. His last foreign residence had been in Airdrie, Scotland, and that he had arrived in the port of New York, state of New York, on or about the 20th day of August, 1908. All that data fit the man I was looking for, even in the absence of his second given name. Except that I have a passenger list that shows his arrival as being the 23rd of August, 1909. The 3 days aren't a major discrepancy, but being off by a year proved to be important. The Naturalization Service, U.S. Department of Labor, DOL, contacts DOL's Immigration Service, Office of the Commissioner of Immigration, to verify the applicant's date, place, and vessel when they arrived. They filed a return to naturalization with his papers that stated James Arthur arrived at the port of New York, New York on the 13th of July, 1908, aboard the California. A search of the passenger lists for a James Arthur arriving on the 13th of July, 1908 in the California reveals a steerage passenger on line 29 named James Arthur, age 24, male, single, coal miner, able to read and write, last permanent residence Loanhead, Scotland, and his father Charles Arthur was still living in Scotland, living at 19 Clark Street, Loanhead. He was heading to Pittsburgh, Kansas. He had a ticket for his destination, paid his own passage, had at least $50. He had been in the United States before, residing in Philadelphia for 3 years. He was heading to meet his friend John McQueen, address Rural Route number 6, Pittsburgh, Kansas. He was 5 feet 4 inches tall, dark complexion, dark hair, blue eyes, no other marks, and had been born in Loanhead, Scotland. This was clearly not the James Evelyn Arthur, painter, born in Australia, father being James, and coming from Airdrie to Rochester and now living in Summit County, Ohio. James Arthur, the one in Ohio, filed his petition for naturalization in the Common Pleas Court of Summit County, Ohio on the 11th of August, 1916. In it, most of the information matched his declaration of intention. The differences were that he was then residing at 133 Francis Avenue, Akron. His wife was named Helen and had been born in Scotland and was then residing in Akron. He had 2 children and included their names, dates, and places of birth, and that they were then residing in Akron. Tellingly, another difference was that he stated that he had arrived on the California to the port of New York, New York on the 13th of July, 1908. Except, of course, he didn't arrive until August 1909. Anyone using the naturalization file to find his arrival would have had wrong information. While it works most of the time, always read all the records you have carefully. Errors happen, such as James forgetting what year he arrived, and sometimes those errors get compounded, such as by the Immigration Office identifying the wrong James Arthur, and by James Arthur changing the date given on his petition to match the certificate of arrival.